It was said that the old train line running through the valley had been closed for decades. The tracks were rusted, the stations long forgotten, and yet, on certain nights, when the fog lay low and the wind carried the scent of rain, people swore they could still hear the distant hum of an engine. They called it the Midnight Line. No one knew where it came from or where it went. The few who claimed to have seen it said it appeared when time itself seemed to hesitate, when clocks stalled for a heartbeat and the world fell eerily silent. But the strangest part? They said it didn't stop at stations. It stopped between moments. Evelyn Hart was not someone who believed in ghost stories. She was a historian by trade, a collector of facts and dates, a woman who trusted the measurable world. That night, though, she wasn't chasing history. She was running from it. Her father had passed away a week earlier, leaving behind boxes of old letters, journals, and regrets she didn't yet have the courage to read. The house felt too quiet, the city too loud, and so she did what she always did when she couldn't sleep, she went for a walk. The fog rolled in thick, wrapping around the trees like pale silk. The road curved toward the edge of the town, where the abandoned rail line slept beneath wildflowers and weeds. That's when she heard it. A low, distant rumble. At first, she thought it was thunder. But then came the soft clang of metal, the faint hiss of brakes, the unmistakable sigh of a train slowing down. And there it was. A train, polished silver, windows glowing faintly gold, gliding soundlessly down tracks that should have been too broken to hold it. It stopped just a few feet away from her. The door slid open. A voice, calm and kind, spoke from inside. "Are you boarding, Miss Hart?" The man who greeted her wore a uniform from another century, dark coat, brass buttons, white gloves. His face was kind, though his eyes carried the faraway look of someone who had watched too many goodbyes. Evelyn hesitated. "I wasn't planning to." "Most passengers don't," he said with a smile. "And yet, here you are." Something in his tone disarmed her. Before she could think better of it, she stepped inside. The door closed behind her with a soft click. The interior was elegant but faded, velvet seats, lamps with golden light, the faint scent of lavender and smoke. The air hummed with quiet, as though the world outside had exhaled and forgotten to breathe in again. "Where does this train go?" she asked. The conductor tilted his head. "That depends. Most find it takes them not where they want to go, but where they need to be." The train began to move, not forward, but in a way that made Evelyn's stomach flutter, as if she'd fallen into a dream. Through the window, she saw not countryside or city lights but memories, her own, streaming past in flashes. Her father's laughter as he carried her on his shoulders. The first time she saw snow. The day she left home. The last conversation they had, words sharp and unfinished. "Why are you showing me this?" she whispered. The conductor appeared beside her, as if he'd been there all along. "We're traveling between moments, Miss Hart. These are the seconds that never had time to finish themselves." Evelyn turned to him, her throat tight. "And what happens when the train stops?" "That depends on whether you're ready to let go," he said gently. Evelyn wandered through the train, passing other compartments. In one car, a young boy stared out the window, clutching a faded kite. In another, an old woman whispered a lullaby to no one in particular. A soldier sat polishing a medal that no longer shone, tears slipping silently down his cheek. They all looked peaceful in their own way, not lost, but waiting. Evelyn sat beside the old woman. "Is this a dream?" she asked. The woman smiled faintly. "If it is, child, it's a kind one. We're all just passengers between what was and what might have been." Her words lingered in the air like perfume. Eventually, the conductor returned. "It's almost time," he said softly. "For what?" "To decide whether you're staying, or going back." The train slowed, and Evelyn looked out the window. They were pulling into a station, but it wasn't one she recognized. The sign above the platform simply read, The last goodbye. On the platform stood a man she hadn't seen in years, her father, wearing the same sweater he always wore on Sunday mornings. He looked younger, lighter, his eyes full of warmth. She pressed her palm to the glass. "Dad." He smiled. "You made it." Tears blurred her vision. "Is this real?" "As real as anything that still matters," he said. She wanted to run to him, to step off the train and finally say the words she never had the courage to. But when she looked back, the conductor was watching her quietly. "If you leave," he said, "you won't return. The train moves only between moments. It never goes backward." Evelyn looked between them, the father she had lost, the train that shouldn't exist, the ache that had followed her for so long. Then, for the first time in years, she smiled. She placed her hand against the glass. "I love you, Dad," she whispered. "I'm sorry I never said it enough." Her father's smile deepened. "You just did." And then, like a candle being gently blown out, he was gone. The train began to move again, the platform dissolving into mist. Evelyn closed her eyes and let herself breathe. The heaviness in her chest had lifted, leaving something quieter, something almost like peace. The conductor tipped his hat. "Well done, Miss Hart." Few managed to speak what must be said. "Where are we going now?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "Back to your moment. The world's been waiting." When Evelyn opened her eyes, she was standing by the tracks. The fog had thinned, and dawn was painting the horizon with pale gold. The rails were rusted again. The air was still. There was no sign of the train, only the faint scent of lavender and smoke lingering in the air. In her hand was something she didn't remember holding before, a small brass ticket. Stamped across it were the words, "Between moments, one journey redeemed." She smiled, tucking it into her pocket. The morning birds began to sing. Somewhere, far off, a clock began to tick again. They say that if you walk the valley roads at night, when the world feels paused and your heart carries a weight too quiet to name, you might hear it, the distant hum of the midnight line. It only stops for those who have left something unsaid. It only travels where time hesitates to move. And if you ever find yourself standing by those rusted tracks and the train door opens for you, step aboard. You won't be escaping life. You'll be meeting it, one last time, the train that stopped between moments, a soft breeze tale about time, memory, and the quiet grace of letting go.